Celebrations begin for 300-year Sallian anniversary. Lands Department calls for common sense to prevail. And PNGTPA helps with Kuk World Heritage Site.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Friday's news. Celebrations in PNG to mark the 300-year anniversary of St. John Baptist de la Salle began today. 5 Lasallian schools gathered to commemorate this important day. The celebrations will follow in 3 events spread throughout this year. The opening mass, which happened today, followed by a national gathering in July, and ending with the closing mass in September. A French saint who has touched the hearts of millions of students all over the world was celebrated today. St. John Baptist de la Salle, also known as the patron saint of all teachers, has left a legacy that has lived on for years. 5 Lasallian schools alumni and invited guests gathered to commemorate him.
Faith, service and community, those values that are so prominent in your Lasallian schools. Use every opportunity this special year to deepen your faith and live it.
Students and teachers were challenged to promote more and more Christian education.
Share the God-given knowledge to the next generation. You are sharing the real truth, the real light, and the real life, who is Jesus himself.
John Baptist de la Salle believed that education gave hope and opportunity for individuals to have better lives of dignity and freedom. Motivated by the plight of the poor, he resolved to use his own talents and advanced education at the service of the children.
By training young people not only in basic subjects, but also by instilling in them essential moral values, you are making the legacy of Saint Jean Baptiste de la Salle bear fruit.
Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National EMTV News. Work Secretary David Were says about 80% of bridges throughout the country are in bad condition and are structurally unsafe for users. He says recent damage to bridges during rainy weather occurred because most bridges have never been replaced. Mr. Were says the Works Department has identified several bridges along the key economic highways that need immediate upgrades.
As part of the rebuilding and reconstruction program of our both the roads and bridges, starting with those 4,200 kilometers of the key economic roads, which include the Gulf, the Iritano Highway, Magi, the Highlands Highway, the Ramu Medeng, the CP Coastal, as well as the Bulminski Highway and East-West New Britain. We have identified key bridges that needs to be immediately replaced for safety as well as for upgrading these bridges to a higher standard that is able to withstand the major floods and major natural disasters that is.
Secretary Were says there is a backlog under the permanent bridge replacement programs for bridges throughout the country. Such is the case along the Sepik Coastal Highway, which has a pipeline of bridge replacement programs. However, Mr. Were confirmed that about 300 million kina has been secured from international donors for these programs. With this funding, bridge replacement programs are currently underway along the Ramu to Medang Highway, the West New Britain highways, and as well as along the Sepik Coastal Highway. This week saw the controversy over the Manu security contract explode in Canberra as the Australian Senate grilled bureaucrats over what they described as a secretive security deal worth 1 billion kina. Paladin Solutions, the company at the center of the controversy, has issued a statement defending its work and in the same breath distancing itself from the Speaker of Parliament, Job Pomat. While that political storm is still ongoing down south, two separate weather systems have been developing, one to the east of Australia and the other to the north of Papua New Guinea between Guam and Manus. All that has contributed to some wild weather in the New Guinea Islands and Momase. Scott Whitey looks at the week that has been and the impact the weather has had on transport infrastructure.
This week in East New Britain, torrential rain and flooding continued to wreak havoc in the Kokopo-Rabaul area. These pictures collected from social media users show the damage to villages, main highways and access roads used by a lot of communities.
And I would say this is one of the areas that has been hit hard.
Since Tuesday, Kokopo resident Esau Meli, armed with a mobile phone, has been sending out images and videos of the destruction. His videos have given the rest of Papua New Guinea a glimpse into the plight of communities there.
It's the lifeline of our province. This is our main highway. I hope our authorities come and attend to this road as soon as possible.
Local authorities still have not gone to the sites affected, but schools have been suspended temporarily as they wait for the rains to subside. On the mainland along the Lae Madang Highway, a similar story. Roads were cut off this week, triggering a spike in the cost of travel for passengers moving between Lae and Madang. Now, several PMV owners have complained of how their profits are being eaten up by maintenance costs of their vehicles. And you know what? That's been happening over the 5-year period between 2012 and 2017. Costs have been steadily rising for PMV owners. Fuel costs have gone up. The cost of spare parts have gone up as businesses struggled to import as the value of the kina slid and foreign exchange became difficult to obtain. And it's been one step forward and two steps back. This major highway, the Lae Madang Highway, and particularly the Ramu to Tapo stretch, has never been sealed in its entirety. The number of very powerful sounding commitments goes back to 2012 when several sections of the roads were cut off and repaired and cut off again. Talk to the Works Department and you'll get no real answers about when this road will be fixed. In Port Moresby this week, a few noteworthy local headlines. The Chinese-funded Butuka Academy was forced to close temporarily, and no, it wasn't because of the weather. Parents from Butuka and nearby villages demanded answers over why their children were not given first preference. Another group of parents wanted the school reopened. The PNG Teachers Association, meanwhile, has come out on another issue, but a lingering one: unpaid leave entitlements. Secretary-General of the PNGTPA, Ugwalubu Moana, was this week hinting at strike action if the government didn't respond positively. The police union has also issued a similar message. On the maritime front, some good news. The revived Lutheran Shipping, the company that was riddled with abuse and forced into voluntary liquidation in 2012, is back in action. A Filipino crew took 10 days to travel to Papua New Guinea to hand over MV Yalibu. Yep, MV Yalibu. Now, a lot of people have complained about that name, but what many don't realize is that Lutherans have always named their ships after important sites where the Lutheran Church was established. Yalibu in the Southern Highlands is a Lutheran district and one of the last places where Lutheran missionaries went to. The shipping service, meanwhile, is expected to significantly cut costs for people going to Finchafen, Siasi and other locations in Morobe.
Yo, at Friday's News, we have more of today's other stories when we come back from this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. The U.S. government, through the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, has launched a teacher's guide for primary schools that will educate Papua New Guinea students about their marine environment and the need for conservation. It also encourages teachers to relate to its factual content with the local situation and provide opportunity for hands-on active involvement in conservation and climate adaptation initiatives. An issue that the Papua New Guinea Teachers Association is very much involved in is the appointment of teachers and ensuring that appointments are not compromised for political expediency. PNGTPA General Secretary Ugwalubu Moana stated this recently with regards to an appointment made by the Minister for Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology for the principal of Port Moresby Business College.
The PNGTPA says over the last 2 weeks they have been concerned with the manner in which the principal of Port Moresby Business College was appointed by the Minister for Higher Education, Pila Niningi. The association says it does not conform to the process and procedures of the teacher appointment in the country under the current teaching service merits. Under the process guided by the TSC Act 1988, the appointment of lecturers of national institutions such as Port Moresby Business College is the responsibility of the National Education Board.
The Minister has appointed a base level officer whom the union considered to be inexperienced, also unqualified to run the institution at Port Moresby Business College. We believe that there are unprecedented actions of the new principal which is not conforming to the practices at the business college.
PNGTPA is maintaining that Mr. Niningi, as the Minister for Higher Education, has absolutely no authority to appoint the principal of POM Business College, let alone the authority to exercise the powers of the National Education Board, which even the Minister for Education does not exercise. After seeking legal advice, PNGTPA National General Secretary Ugwalubu Moana states the association had made the decision to refer him to the Ombudsman Commission for further deliberation. This is after several calls through the media and other channels to ask the minister to revoke his appointment.
The minister has not taken heed of our concerns that the appointment of principal does not meet the merits and process and procedures within the teaching service. Therefore, we now want to announce that we have filed a complaint to the Ombudsman Commission for the minister to be referred to under the Leadership Code to see that his actions does conform to the law.
Moana says the association, as the mouthpiece of the teachers, will not sit back and watch the appointment process be abused. Anet Kora, National EMTV News.
The member for Anglim South Wagi, John Cooley, made a cheque presentation of 100,000 kina to the acting managing director for PNG Power, Caroline Blacklock, today. This money is for a rural electrification project in South Wagi.
Power makes life easy for local people. This was said by the member for Anglip South Wagi, Joe Cooley, when he presented a cheque of 100,000 kina to PNG Power's acting managing director, Caroline Blacklock. Cooley says with a population of 130,000 people in his electorate, access to electricity will improve their livelihood. This rural electrification project in Anglip South Wagi will see a connection of 30.5 kilometers. The member gave an outline of the areas that will be covered in the electrification project.
Condemned to Rome, 7.5 kilometers something. Others were up to Kaip, straight corner to 6 miles, Warwau to Wagi, Avi SDA to Avi Primary School.
PNG Power's acting managing director Caroline Blacklock says the connection of electricity in this part of the highlands will enable the local people to engage in SMEs, as well as a route for farming through the use of agricultural pumps and simple irrigation systems.
One thing that I know we will do, especially in your place at South Waggi, is be able to give people the ability to have little pumps. If you can pull water out of a creek, and we know there's beautiful water in your country, that if you can pull that water and put it into a tank or use irrigation equipment, simple irrigation like hoses and sprays, then you can grow your vegetables consistently over the year.
Patricia Chiamo, National EMTV News.
Last week, the Pacific Maritime Training College graduated 17 PNG Defence Force Navy cadets in a first ever run Marine Technical Propulsion 1 training. This training began in September 2018, but it was put on hold during the APEC meetings and eventually completed this year. The training program was sponsored by the Australian government.
Sponsored by the Australian government and facilitated by the Pacific Maritime Training College, the first ever Marine Technical Propulsion 1 training program graduated 17 PNGDF candidates.
Ordinary Seaman Ezekiel Fred.
The 13-week course covered areas like marine engineering, ship electrical, and shipboard systems. The graduates were presented with their certificates and projects completed during the course. Deputy Principal Henry Wilson congratulated the graduates and extended the school's gratitude to the Australian Defence Force.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our Australian Defence Force and the PNG Defence Force Partnership Program in ensuring that this young...
Present at the graduation ceremony was a small delegation from the Australian Defence Force. Commander Alan Wilmore of the Australian Navy told the graduates that their journey out in the field will be challenging, but they should take every challenge as it comes.
Go with the flow. Learn what you can. Talk to your superiors and learn from them, because a lot of those guys are going to be gone probably in the next 5 or 6 years. So it will be you gentlemen taking the technical side of the Navy forward into the 2030, 2040s. So congratulations, done very well, keep up the good work.
Patricia Chiamo, National EMTV News.
The Lands Department is calling for common sense to prevail as talks to get as many Motu Koitabuan students enrolled at the Butuka Academy continue. However, there is limited space for children to attend the academy. After discussions earlier in the week, the school had allowed for classes to resume today for children to continue lessons.
Mosby South MP and Lands Minister Justin Chichenko told MTV News that the request made by Motu Koitabuans to have Butuka Academy solely for Motu Koitabuans is unwise and will be very difficult.
But we also must be realistic. I would love to have all Motu Koitabuans at Butuka Academy. Don't get me wrong. But we also have other Papua New Guineans as well that we must also educate and look after in that area.
Chichenko says everyone will need to come to some understanding and compromise which does not involve jeopardizing the education of children in the electorate. He said the school will try its best to include as many children as it can. However, spacing is one important issue that parents need to understand and come to terms with.
Let's not use our own personal differences and objectives to spoil it for everybody. Let's come to a common understanding where the school will continue to run for the benefit of Papua New Guineans and our Motu Koitabuans.
He says continuous dialogue will go ahead with the Education Department and the people of Motu Koitabu, stressing further that parents should not make the situation worse by closing the academy and making children suffer any further. Classes at the Butuka Academy resumed yesterday, and the minister is hopeful it will remain open for the rest of the year. Annette Kora, National EMTV News.
The PNG Tourism Promotion Authority has donated 100,000 kina for the full development of the Kuk World Heritage Site. Located in the Western Highlands province, this site is well known for its archaeological evidence, which proposes independent agricultural developments and variations in agricultural practice over decades. PNGTPA believes the site is an iconic tourism product which needs to be fully developed.
The Kuk World Heritage Site in the Western Highlands province has received 100,000 kina from the PNG Tourism Promotion Authority to fully develop the site for tourism.
Tourism can carry me blago, agriculture can carry me blago. So she be looking place, look out in place, sit down good also mem, kind senis ba come up. So lick money me blago give him, me blago believe was him. Me blago sit down alright, me blago when it's time to me blago turma iba gat kai plan ba come up na me blago look him so me how much long this la.
In 2008, UNESCO listed Kuk as a World Heritage Site to protect its archaeological integrity. Located 12.5 kilometers northeast of Mount Hagen City, the site has mostly attracted archaeologists and scientists interested in ancient farming methods. Project coordinator for the Kuk World Heritage Site welcomed the timely decision towards the funding.
Now you must understand this la story am stop on another person finish na go. That's all come up in this la story. Am so long for time. Inside the community lo grow this la story lo community am so long for time. Since 1972 come now you must stop 2019.
Funds will be used to construct ablution blocks, including pathways and pavements, perimeter fencing of the sides, and a conference center. The surrounding community leaders and chiefs acknowledged the initiative and are ready to welcome more visiting tourists. Lilian Sopera Kinea, National EMTV News.
You're with the news on EMTV, stories making headlines overseas. When we come back, stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas to a story now of a stunning escape from a life of oppression. Two sisters from Saudi Arabia, under the cover of darkness, fled their family during a trip overseas. They are now on the run in Hong Kong, despite their family's efforts to return them to Riyadh.
This was supposed to be a family beach vacation. Instead, it is proof, two sisters say, of the life they lived under oppression.
Every day it was like a nightmare.
This holiday in Sri Lanka last September was also the scene of their dramatic attempt to escape from their family. Rawan and Reem, not their real names, are 18 and 20-year-old sisters from Saudi Arabia. For their security, they've asked us not to show their faces.
Well, since we was teenagers, we experienced family violence and family abuse, and we wanted to run away of this.
Who was committing the violence in the family?
Father and the brothers.
Under Saudi Arabia's male guardianship system, women have fewer legal rights than men, forced to cover up and unable to travel or even apply for a passport without a husband, father, or brother's permission. Years ago, these sisters secretly renounced Islam, a crime punishable by death in Saudi Arabia, and they began plotting their escape. On the family holiday in Sri Lanka, they saw their chance, but first they had to get their passports from their parents.
You snuck into your parents' room?
Yeah.
While they were sleeping?
Yeah. So I just can't...
To get your passports?
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, they fled to a waiting taxi and took off the long black abayas they were forced to wear from the age of 11.
It was the first time. Yeah, without abaya.
And you're smiling right now.
Because really it was exciting. Exciting.
At Colombo Airport, they bought tickets and received boarding passes for Sri Lankan Airlines to Hong Kong and then Cathay Pacific Airways to Melbourne, Australia, where they'd already arranged online tourist visas.
Next station is...
But when they landed at Hong Kong International Airport, the station manager of Sri Lankan Airlines, and a representative of Jardine Aviation Services Group met them at the gate and asked them for their boarding passes.
I showed it to him and he grabbed it, and we were asking, what's going on? Why are you walking fast? And they said, the plane maybe, you can't catch it.
As they walked through the airport, they were led to the desk of Emirates Airlines, and the story changed.
He said, now there's someone from the Saudi consulate will come to explain. And, you know, at that time we just start to be panicking.
Sri Lankan Airlines sent CNN this detailed account. It alleges that this man, Abdullah Hussein al-Sharif, the vice consul of the Saudi consulate in Hong Kong, came to the airport and asked the airline to change the sisters' itinerary. The Saudi consular officials had informed Sri Lankan Airlines staff that the passenger's mother was terminally ill, and the passengers were therefore required to return to Riyadh immediately. Sri Lankan Airlines tells CNN Saudi officials canceled the sisters' tickets to Australia and requested new boarding passes to take them to Dubai and then Saudi Arabia.
When we scream in his face saying, return my passport, you have no right to take it, you crossed the line, we will tell the police, he's scared. And then we took our passport and literally ran away. We just,
in the airport?
In the airport.
This isn't the first time Saudi government officials have tried to stop women from fleeing. In Thailand last month, 18-year-old Rahaf Al-Kunun barricaded herself in a hotel room and took to the internet, begging for help to prevent deportation back to Saudi Arabia. And Dina Ali Lasloom was filmed by passengers in Manila Airport in 2017, being forced by male relatives on a flight back to Saudi Arabia. Activists haven't heard from her since. Back in Hong Kong, the sisters accused the Saudi vice consul, Abdullah al-Sharif, of intervening in their attempt to board a later Qantas flight to Australia, eventually prompting an Australian official to cancel their visas. Australia's Department of Home Affairs refused to tell us why the visas were cancelled, saying it does not comment on individual cases. The sisters have been stranded in this city ever since.
Do you think these sisters are in danger here in Hong Kong?
Yes, I do.
Human rights attorney Michael Vidler filed a criminal complaint on behalf of the sisters.
We allege that they were the subject of an attempted kidnapping at Hong Kong International Airport in the restricted area. We allege that they obtained their documents by deceit. They then used their documents unlawfully to cancel their boarding passes.
Vidler says his team have screened airport security camera footage showing this man, Saudi Consul General in Hong Kong, Omar al-Banayan, shown here at the airport in happier times. The lawyer says the diplomat was filmed holding the sisters' passports and boarding passes at the airport on September 6th.
A big question here, why would the highest-ranking Saudi official in Hong Kong personally, allegedly intervene in the travel of two adult Saudi women? CNN reached out multiple times to the foreign ministry in Riyadh and the consulate here in Hong Kong and got no answer at all.
But Hong Kong police tell CNN they are now officially investigating what happened in the airport on that day. Sri Lankan Airlines and Jardine Aviation Services Group both deny any wrongdoing, saying they did not pressure the sisters into changing their flights. As for the sisters, they're still living in hiding in Hong Kong, hoping to receive political asylum. They have a defiant message for their family back home.
I want to be a successful woman and to give them that message with my success, that they can't break me.
An American actor who had told police he was a victim of a racial and homophobic attack has been charged with making it up. In a stunning twist, Chicago police say Jesse Smollett orchestrated the whole thing because he was unhappy with his paycheck.
Late today, Jussie Smollett facing a crush of cameras as he left a Chicago courthouse. His family joining him in court today to show their support.
Do you believe your brother's story?
As Smollett faced a judge for the first time, accused of filing a false police report. Chicago's police superintendent with blistering words for the actor.
Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. Why would anyone, especially an African-American man, use the symbolism of a noose to make false accusations? So I'm offended by what's happened, and I'm also angry.
For weeks, Smollett insisted he was the victim.
Who the would make something like this up? You do such a disservice when you lie about things like this.
But police say that's exactly what he did.
Smollett paid $3,500 to stage this attack and drag Chicago's reputation through the mud in the process.
Prosecutors today laying out in excruciating detail how Smollett first enlisted one brother he knew from Empire.
Defendant Smollett texted Abel stating, "Might need your help on the low." Defendant Smollett then stated that he wanted to stage an attack where Abel would appear to batter him.
The brothers now cooperating with police.
We have the check that he used to pay them.
They're seen here on store surveillance buying supplies, a red hat, ski mask, and gloves for an attack police think Smollett hoped would be captured on camera.
They punched him a little bit, but as far as we can tell, the scratches and bruising that you saw on his face was most likely self-inflicted.
Smollett's attorney says he enjoys the presumption of innocence. Given these circumstances, we intend to conduct a thorough investigation and to mount an aggressive defense. Tonight, Chicago's top cop worries about what this means for real victims.
My concern is that hate crimes will now publicly be met with a level of skepticism that previously didn't happen.
Chukai Sports is next. Don't go away.
Kuk Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. International players can now be assured insurance cover when playing with the Kumuls. Concerns have been raised in the past over insurance cover for international players. But with PNG RFL's new partnership with PNG Health Assurance Company Limited, this should be a thing of the past.
After yesterday's contract signing between PNG RFL and PNG Health Assurance, international players have been advised of the new insurance cover. This is great news for players in the NRL who have raised questions and have doubted playing for the Kumuls because of insurance concerns.
Especially the national side, where we try to invite all the international players to come in. There's always questions about insurance. Can probably get back to all the players and probably advise them that this is, when you're up in PNG or you're playing in in a special tournament and stuff like that. We can be assured that there's insurance there. So
the PNG Kumuls will be playing 3 international matches this year. Confirmation of dates and teams to take on the Kumuls will be made known over the next few weeks. With this significant partnership, this also allows for many players competing overseas to reconsider playing for PNG.
Some of the boys that probably, a lot of them are concerned about injuries staying during training and also games, but also, when they come up, they're probably sick or, we've now seen a lot of international players come in and play with in the Kumuls.
This partnership adds credibility to the PNG RFL, helping to grow the game in the country.
When our teams assemble here for camp, training, and on the way to the international visits, if they play here, our PNG LNG Kumuls and our orchids have to be also covered. And we've never had that in the past. We've always, like Chairman said, we had self-insurance cover. But with this, it brings a lot of credibility and also integrity to the systems that we've developed in the last 6 years.
Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
Golfers to this year's Pacific Games are currently training at the Royal Port Moresby Golf Club. With the final squad yet to be announced, Golf PNG will take a team of 10 to Samoa. 2 officials and 8 athletes.
PNG Golf President Peter Del Monte says preparations for the train-on squad to this year's Pacific Games are currently underway, with trainings taking place at the Royal Port Moresby Golf Club.
When we're mentioning the Pacific Games, all the players that want to try to get selection for the Team PNG, they'll be competing in this competition. This will enhance their ability to be selected.
With great talent on board in the train-on squad, PNG Golf will only take a team of 8 players, 4 male and 4 female, to the Pacific Games this year. The final team for golf will be announced in 2 months.
The selection process for the Pacific Games is still continuing, and we'll finalise the teams in the next couple of months. Well, there'll be a team of 4 females and 4 males that will go through with a coach and manager that will be part of Team PNG.
With not enough young talents in various affiliates around the country, PNG Golf is looking to further look into the community to identify and recruit future representatives. In doing so, PNG Golf, through its development program, will start engaging schools to participate in its junior development programs.
Yeah, look, the talent is great, and with the PNG GA, we're looking at putting a schools program together. We're trying to find the next Tiger Woods in Papua New Guinea. There's a lot of natural ability. We have there's a lot of difficulties for the young kids to get to golf courses. So if we take it to the schools and start developing golf as to the schools program, then hopefully they'll come to all the clubs, and that will start developing golf in Papua New Guinea.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
The finals for the POM RFL MRDC Super Nines tournament are set for Saturday, with a total of 20 teams qualifying in the Cup quarter-finals. The games are set to kick off as early as 9:30 a.m. at the National Football Stadium, Oval 2.
The draws have been finalized for the POM RFL Super Nines quarter-finals this Saturday. The 32 men's and 8 women's teams braved the humidity and dry conditions of Port Moresby, playing 3 days of round-robin matches that started on Friday and ended on Sunday last weekend. A total of 20 teams have qualified, and the finals draw have Paga Panthers 3 taking on Royals 1 in the first match. Butterflies 2 will take on Souths 1, Tarangao 2 will take on Tarangao 3, Dobo Warriors 2 take on the Central Dabaris. Dobo Warriors 1 will take on ID24 Agros, Royals 2 take on Hohola Flies 1, Invitational Team Balimo Swamp Dwellers take on Hohola Flies 2, and West take on Magpies. In the Women's Challenge, Butterflies take on Dobo Warriors, while Paga Panthers take on the Royals. Port Moresby Rugby Football League turns out entertaining matches, and a healthy crowd is expected at the finals. The competition is sponsored by MRDC, and the prize money will be allocated for the winners once MRDC and POM RFL finalize the amount.
Waiting for MRDC to, while they made a verbal commitment, they just need to put pen to paper and give us the payment. I am sure we have done so well for MRDC in the last 5 years running of this tournament, and I am sure MRDC also in the last 5 years have fulfilled their commitments. So just for them to put pen to paper and give us the check, and it should be okay.
Pedeli Sukina, National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues with more after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. In just over 24 hours, the Super Rugby champions, Crusaders, will finally make a start to the new home season, taking on arch rivals, the Hurricanes. The Crusaders boasting 9 All Blacks in their starting team against an underpowered Canes. The home side also has a new fan area for extra support.
The fresh paint on the lights posts at the Crusaders' fortress, serving as a reminder to the visitors having to play under them.
Yeah, well, that's how we like to think of it. It is our fortress. You know, when you're at home, you get to keep your routines and all those kind of things pre-game nice and similar.
Despite some All Blacks sitting out, tomorrow's starting 15 still features 10 players who started in last year's Super Rugby final. Jack Goodhue overcoming his groin strain to partner Ryan Crotty in the centres, pushing out the impressive Braden Enor.
Yeah, I think it was pretty nervous about how well Braden went last week. It was really sharp, and it was awesome to see him take that opportunity, but it's awesome to have Jack back out there with us.
While the Hurricanes will be hoping their backups can step up.
Just because Finn hasn't got 60 All Black caps for the All Blacks and stuff like that, doesn't make this team any lesser. So I've got absolute confidence in those boys they can go in and we can bring TJ off the bench, Nani off the bench. I think that just shows the trust that they have in their squad. They've got quality men right throughout, and it's always probably one of the biggest challenges of the year when we come up against these guys.
The Hurricanes were the last side to beat the Crusaders here, but that was well over 2 years ago, and don't expect that to change as there'll be even more support in the crowd tomorrow night in the new Razor Red Zone.
I think that was his idea, wasn't it? No, it's awesome. It's awesome that he's re-signed. He's been a massive part of this team's success the last couple of years, so it's special for the franchise to have him sticking around.
As the champions look to continue their golden run at home.
A fellow Kiwi has come to the aid of Ryan Fox after a whirlwind trip, making it just in time to tee off in the World Golf Championship event in Mexico. Fox only arrived in Mexico City hours before tee time. In fact, he traveled over 20,000 kilometers in 4 days, ending up in Mexico City. He had another player's caddy to thank for a helping hand.
A wry smile after quite the journey. Ryan Fox arriving at the WGC Mexico following a late dash, having only secured his place in the field on Tuesday.
It was actually a tough decision. Yeah, we're tossing up, do we come here with no preparation and then impact the preparation for New Zealand Open?
The lure of the WGC won out, but it resulted in less than ideal preparation.
I fell asleep at 10:30, no problem, and then woke up, bolt up right at midnight, and then took a sleeping pill about 1:30 and didn't know what planet I was on when the alarm went at 7 o'clock this morning.
That meant not seeing the course at all before his round, a far cry from the usual build-up of meticulously walking a course and analysing every aspect of it. Some assistance from a friend, at least giving him some insight.
There's a Kiwi boy up here that is caddying for Jake McLeod, who I know really well, and he sat down with us last night and just sort of went through the course a little bit.
After a hit on the practice range, crucially adjusting to the altitude, Fox got his round underway. 2 early birdies putting him in a good position before the travel caught up with him, with 3 bogeys over the last 11 holes.
Kind of felt drunk almost the last 5 or 6 holes. I didn't really, limbs flying everywhere. The head was a bit lightheaded, and I hung on pretty well.
Fox cutting a 1/72 to sit 9 shots off Rory McIlroy's lead in a tie for 35th. An impressive performance after quite an adventure.
And that ends Chukai Sports. The weather details coming up next.
Chukai Sports. Chukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, fine weather, although partly cloudy tonight and tomorrow in Port Moresby. Fine in Daru, Kerema and Popondetta, and fine, although partly cloudy in Alotau. In the Momaster region, fine, although cloudy at times in Lae, fine weather in Medang, and a shower or 2 in Vanimo and Wewak. In the New Guinea Islands region, fine weather in Lorengau, Kabeng and Buka, a shower or 2 in Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, fine weather, although partly cloudy, then morning fog developing tomorrow. Forecast for small ships, there is renewal strong wind warning for all coastal waters. Strong wind warning current for all inland and coastal ocean waters of Western Province to Gulf Province to Central. From Hood Point to all Milne Bay Islands, including Finschhafen through Vitiaz Strait, Siasi Islands to Long Island to Medang, Bogia and Wewak, Aitape to Vanimo, northern PNG Indonesian border and New Guinea Islands, also including Coral, Solomon, Bismarck Seas and the Pacific Ocean. All public aviation, small craft and boats are advised to take necessary precautions on this warning. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema and Yule Island, seas of 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of Yule Island to Hood Point to Samari Island, with waters of Eastern and Western Milne Islands and waters of Medang to Bogia, Wewak to Aitape and Vanimo, including northern PNG Indonesian border, and waters of Manus and its western group of islands to New Ireland, seas of 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters of Samari Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, with waters of New Britain to Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters, and waters of Finschhafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits to Siasi Islands to Long Island and Medang, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Ocean forecast: the PNG areas in the Coral Sea, seas rough with northwest to southwest winds at 30 to 34 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas moderate to rough with northwest to southwest winds at 20 to 34 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas rough to high seas with westerly winds at 30 to 48 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas rough with westerly winds at 30 to 34 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for today's 22nd of February 2019. Have a pleasant evening and a safe weekend. Take care. Good night.